Well, the heat is on here in West Michigan and over much of the Great Lakes and northeastern U.S. Hi, this is Bill Steffen. We're talking very warm temperatures, not only during the day, but also at night, when temperatures may not get much lower than about the upper 70s here, pretty close to where our normal high temperatures are supposed to be this time of year. So let's take a look at what's going on across the area. I want to point out some of the high temperatures that we had on Saturday. Chicago, Midway Airport at 95. Benton Harbor, 94. Now, the wind was south, so it was not coming across the lake. If the wind was more west or northwest, it would have been cooler there. Grand Rapids, all the way up to 93. Average high temperature is 81, so that was 12 degrees warmer than average. Kalamazoo also at 93, made 92 at Ionia and Battle Creek, 81 at the South Haven Lighthouse. Now, the wind was south there, but it did turn a little bit more south-southwest off the water, so that's why the temperature was a bit cooler there. And look at the difference over at Muskegon. While it was 93 in Grand Rapids, the temperature on the beach of Muskegon was a much more pleasant 77 degrees. And there was about a 3-degree difference between the beach and the end of the pier. Out at the end of the pier, the temperature didn't get any warmer than 74 degrees. So really interesting to see that contrast of temperatures. That's almost 20 degrees between Grand Rapids and the end of the Muskegon Pier. And once again on Sunday, if you want to stay cool, you want to head over to Lake Michigan. We had some pretty strong winds across the area. I'm still checking to see if that 66-mile-an-hour gust at the Chicago water intake was actually real, but it looks to be that way, and that was not in the thunderstorm. The sun was shining at all of these locations in the afternoon when it got that windy. The air gets kind of unstable, and it drags down some windier conditions from aloft and kind of mixes in the lower atmosphere, but boy, I tell you, those are some pretty gusty winds out there. 47 miles an hour at Muskegon, 43 miles an hour Howland and Ludington, 40 miles an hour Big Rapids and Cadillac, and even 37 miles an hour inland here in Grand Rapids and in Battle Creek. Well, we have a lot of advisories in effect here for the second day in a row. First, the heat advisory continues for all counties this Sunday. The heat index will be up between 95 and 105 in the afternoon, and that gets you close to the danger category here. A beach hazard statement is in effect Sunday. Once again, everybody did a good job of that on Saturday. I was looking at the cameras, and people were not jumping in the water off the south side of the piers. If you see somebody doing that, tell them that's a very dangerous thing to do, because a structural current develops with the south wind. It would be on the south side of the piers, and it pushes you out toward open water. So do not swim near or jump off the south side of the piers today. That'll likely be the case tomorrow as well. We have small craft advisories. Waves could peak at anywhere from 3 to 7 feet. We did have peak waves of around 6 feet at the Muskegon buoy during the day. And waves during the day, or winds during the day today should be up around 20 to 30 miles an hour, some of the faster gusts there. If anything, it'll be a little less windy than it was here during the day on Saturday. And once again, we have an air quality alert for the Lakeshore counties and Kent and Cass counties. And we'll have to wait and see if they issue one on Monday, but that may likely be the case once again with all the heat that we have here. And of course, Monday's a work day, so you tend to get a little bit more ozone on some of those work days, especially with the wind direction coming out of the south-southwest up from northern Indiana and the Chicago area. Okay, up next, we have the severe weather outlooks for the next couple of days. Another day for powerful thunderstorms through the Plain States, from New Mexico and the Texas Panhandle all the way on up toward Ontario, Canada. In fact, there could be some pretty good thunderstorms in Canada, almost all the way up to Hudson Bay. And then you can see a marginal risk in the northeastern U.S., cities like Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Boston, New York City, with that marginal risk for some strong winds and thunderstorm activity here later on during the day today. And then the outlook for Monday looks like this. The Monday outlook shows this not too far off to the west of us. You can see the slight risk, or level 2, from Nebraska up to Canada. And we have a marginal risk that comes into southwest Michigan. If you were to draw a line from about Muskegon over to Saginaw Bay, that dark green is a marginal risk, and then up by Traverse City, a level 2 or slight risk for severe weather. And that would be into Sunday night and Monday. All right, let's go on here and take a look at the 66-hour rainfall map. A lot of rain falling with some of those thunderstorms, and you can see that. By the way, they had over 3 3/4 inches of rain in a couple spots up in the Houghton area where they had some flooding here early Saturday morning. But you can see, look at the moisture coming up into New Mexico. I'm going to talk about that. There's a tropical storm forming down there, and what that's doing is it's pumping the moisture up toward New Mexico. So they will be seeing more clouds and showers, and a little bit of that moisture gets up into the plain states too, interacting with the front there. So as you can see, yellow is 1.5 inches. The orange would be up to 2 inches of rain across parts of southeast Nebraska and Iowa. And I believe we have a graphic here that shows Michigan. And as you can see, nothing for Grand Rapids over the next 3 days, or 2.5 days anyway. But there will be some shower and thunderstorm activity moving from Wisconsin across the lake. And this would be Monday night and Tuesday up toward the Ludington area. There could be as much as 0.5 inch of rain. All right, we're going to take a little break now and thank our sponsors, starting with Complete Care Concierge.
Need a fast, efficient, and affordable cleaning service? Complete Care Concierge has you covered. Serving all of West Michigan, we offer one-time, daily, weekly, and bi-weekly cleans, plus move in, move out. We also service apartment hallways and laundry rooms. Our work is guaranteed, gift cards are available, and we even clean on weekends. There's no better way to say I love you than giving a tired mom a break from dishes and laundry. Are you a busy professional? Pamper yourself by taking vacuuming and dusting off your plate. Office manager, keep your business looking and feeling its very best. Call 616-264-1397 today for a spotless space and total peace of mind.
When your home needs help, you might not know where to start. Why not ask Ace? We're always here to help with Ace Handyman Services. Our talented craftsmen handle everything from drywall and carpentry to doors and kitchens. We're the neighbors you trust to get the job done right. Let's get started. Book your handyman appointment today. Ace Handyman Services, bringing helpful to your home.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
And thank you to Complete Care Concierge and also Ace Handyman Services for sponsoring our show. Look at this. Well, it's hot here. It's not so hot out west. My sister and brother-in-law are out on a touring in the Canadian Rockies, and they reported it was actually snowing a little bit where they were. Snow levels down to 4,000 feet Saturday evening and Sunday morning in Glacier National Park. Accumulating snow on the Going to the Sun Highway, 6 to 14 inches. That's pretty amazing. And over on the right side here, it says likelihood of 5 to 12 inches of snow is greater than 90% above 6,000 feet, up to a 30% chance of isolated, look at that, 2 feet of snow. Wind gusts up to 40 miles an hour. So it's winter out there in Glacier National Park, and that snow continues up into the Canadian Rockies as well. All right, back to what's going on down to the southwest. We have a new tropical storm. That red indicates at least a 70% chance of a tropical storm forming. That would be called Flossie, and it would skirt along the Mexican coastline there. We don't expect this to become a major hurricane, though we said that about Eric, and Eric really did become kind of a major hurricane there for a while. Fortunately, that hit in a sparsely populated area. But we expect Flossie to kind of just skim the coast there a little bit, but mainly as a tropical storm. The other sectors are very quiet right now. In the western Pacific Ocean, there is one tropical wave which may reach tropical storm status, but maybe not hurricane status. Nothing in the Caribbean, Gulf of Mexico, or Atlantic. And in fact, we may very well not see any activity there until July. So really a long drought of inactivity, very quiet conditions over much of the world, and especially in the Atlantic. All right, our headlines. Heat wave today, Monday and Tuesday. Temperatures will reach the low to mid 90s. Heat index tops out at 95 to 105 during the afternoon. Breezy weather today with gusts around 20 to 25 miles an hour, but not as breezy as it was on Saturday. Well, here's a look at some of the interesting temperatures, the water temperatures for you here. Everybody's up in about the mid 60s here. Hoffmaster continues to be the warmest at 69. Some big waves expected today, especially as you go from Grand Haven to the north. So again, don't jump off those piers and breakwalls. Again, be careful as you're out there because the waves could reach as high as 3 to 7 feet especially in areas north of Muskegon during the afternoon, south to southwest winds at 10 to 20 knots. I'll look at some high temperatures across the area today, about 95 for Grand Rapids, 95. That's really hot. Low temperature also pretty extraordinary at 77. Hot, warm weather continuing. Humidity does bottom out at about 50% during the afternoon. And as I mentioned, winds out of the south at 10 to 20 miles an hour. Some individual high temperatures on the day today. We're looking at 95 for Grand Rapids, 83 for South Haven. Again, if you want to head over by the lakeshore, that's where you can find a little bit of relief. It'll still be warm there, but not as warm as inland areas. Kalamazoo, you're headed up to about 96 today. Look for temperatures to be in the low to mid 90s at Gaylord and Traverse City off to the north. Over towards Saginaw, 97, Detroit, 97, Chicago, 98 degrees. It's been hotter, but this is really a warm situation for us. And look it up in the UP where there'll be some 90 temperatures as well there. Even Marquette gets a 90 degree, though it will be a bit cooler if you head over toward Copper Harbor with the wind there coming in off the water. And we'll take a look at Monday. Monday, we'll see temperatures about the same, back up into the mid 90s in most inland areas. Cooler temperatures right by the lake, about 82 we get there at South Haven. And Chicago is still up there at 97 degrees. So a couple of really hot days down there in the Windy City. And warm out in the UP there as well as temperatures reach the low 90s. So interesting. 5-day forecast looks like this. Sunny and hot Sunday, sunny and hot Monday. About a 50-50 chance a shower, thunder shower could sneak in here on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we have about a 50 to 60% chance of a thunder shower and about a 50% chance here during the day on Thursday. Long range outlook is in the 8 to 14 day outlook, and it takes temperatures down pretty close to average over much of the state of Michigan, maybe slightly above average. Grand Rapids off to the south, but that core of the heat shifts to the east coast and then south down toward Florida. And also it reestablishes itself out in the Pacific Northwest, which has been on the cool side. Stays below average in the New Mexico, West Texas area, where they continue to see moisture come up from tropical storms west of Mexico, which gives them a lot of cloud cover and hence the below average temperatures. Rainfall totals should be above average over much of the country once again. So really not a lot of drought conditions at this point. Things are drying out here in Michigan because we're having several dry days in a row. But certainly looks like the corn will be growing out there. Any of those agricultural crops that get some water with this heat should really be taken off a little bit. And we have one more graphic to pass along. I want to remind you again about the heat wave, the heat advisory in effect, Saturday through Tuesday, a 4-day heat wave across the area here. Temperatures low to mid 90s. Not quite as hot if you're going to be near Lake Michigan, but stay hydrated, get that glass of water. Have a fan, hang out in some air conditioning. We went to a restaurant here. We went to Russo's down in Tangier Village. I've never been there before, Tangier Outlet Mall, and enjoyed a meal down there. It was cool and pleasant inside. So that might be something you think of doing. So let's take a look at what Michelle has for us. She is working at the airport tonight. We start out with the date being 1942, the U.S. Pledge of Allegiance was adopted. So the Pledge of Allegiance isn't that old. That's interesting. The version of it was written in 1885 by a Union Army captain, and things sometimes go slow in Washington because it wasn't officially adopted for 57 years. It wasn't until 1942. It was revised in 1954 under Dwight Eisenhower to add the words "under God" to our Pledge of Allegiance. And some more information for you on the Pledge of Allegiance here coming up. Let's take a look at that. They've had multiple legal challenges to the use of "under God" in the U.S. and state pledges. The federal one at the U.S. Supreme Court level was tossed out for lack of jurisdiction. The state and federal appeals court have ruled that the use of "under God" is allowed in the Pledge of Allegiance. And we'll go on and talk about this, the U.S. Pledge of Allegiance in schools. That's a law, I believe, all those letters and numbers there to start. It says that Michigan public schools must offer a time to recite the U.S. Pledge of Allegiance every day. Students don't have to participate. And I believe we have a Michigan Michigan Pledge of Allegiance. I did not know this, okay? I complete ignorance on this. I pledge allegiance to the flag of Michigan and to the state for which it stands, two beautiful peninsulas, united by a bridge of steel, where equal opportunity and justice for all is our ideal. It was written by Harry Coburn, and it became the pledge in 1972. Obviously, if it mentions a bridge of steel, that has to be after the Mackinac Bridge was constructed in the, would that be late 50s or thereabouts? So I didn't know that, but we have a pledge here. I wonder if we have a pledge in Alpine Township where I live. I don't know. Maybe I should write one. Maybe I should give that as a homework assignment here on the vlogs that we do. I don't know. All right, what else we got here for us from Michelle? Oh, this is an anniversary of a terrible tornado that occurred up in Manitoba. While we get most of the world's tornadoes in the United States, that's because of our geography. The Rockies block the prevailing northwest or the prevailing west winds and allow a lot of interaction between cool air masses to the north with warmer air masses coming up from the south. We get a lot of big storm activity here, not only summertime storms, but also blizzards and whatnot. But this one was an F5, and let's take a look right now at some of the damage from it. Strongest tornado on record in Canadian history. Was on the ground for 35 minutes, registered F5 on the F scale. Now we have the EF scale. $1 million in damage to just the town flour mill, just that one thing. Multiple buildings and vehicles were totally destroyed. $39 million worth of damage, and that was in 2007, so that was 18 years ago. It was $39 million. And we had terrible storms Friday night up in North Dakota, by the way. I don't know if you heard about that, but there were a couple spots with wind gusts up to 100 miles an hour that blasted through, especially all the way across the state, from the southwest corner of the state to Fargo. Fargo had a gust of 74. Bismarck had a gust to 82. And I think it was it Leipzig that had the gust to either 94 or 101. Somebody had a gust to 101. Interesting. If I dug through my notes, I could probably figure it out, but I got too many notes here. June 22, National Rainforest Day. Rainforests cover about 6% of the earth, but the rainforest is home to about half of the world's plant and animal species. So it's nice to have those rainforests around. Of course, they absorb a good amount of carbon dioxide as well. And some more information here on rainforests for you. The only rainforest in the U.S. National Forest System is El Yunque National Forest in this territory. I was almost going to guess Hawaii, but since it's not a state, it has to be a territory. I don't think it's Washington, D.C. Some people call that a rainforest swamp. Let's see, we've got Guam, the Marianas Islands, the Virgin Islands. I think we'll go with Puerto Rico. That's a big island. And oh, well, look at that. Puerto Rico was right. That's a picture that Michelle took, and that is a beautiful picture. It's got the rainbow there. It's got a beautiful cumulonimbus cloud with the anvil blowing off toward the right there. She went down there. I believe she's been there 2 or 3 times. She loves Puerto Rico. She just thinks that's a great place, greatest place in the world. And if you ever want to go someplace in the winter where you're kind of guaranteed you won't get cold weather, and every now and then people go to Florida for a week in January and they hit a cold week where it's in the 50s and raining or something like that. But Puerto Rico is far enough southeast that they don't get the cold air down there. And on a typical winter day, you can still find temperatures up at least in the low 80s. But great place to be. All right, let's move along here. That's a beautiful picture, though. I'd like to look at that a little bit longer. The United States also has temperate rainforest in the Pacific Northwest, Washington, Oregon, and Northern California, in Alaska, and in the Appalachian Mountains, which is North Carolina, Tennessee, the Smokies, far northern Georgia, western Virginia, and northwest South Carolina. And we got a couple of nice pictures to show you here. This is me in Juneau, Alaska. I don't have that coat anymore, and that was a great coat. It was so perfect for the weather we had. It was raining very lightly, and we had hiked up above Juneau. That's the city of Juneau down below there. We had hiked up to about 3,000 feet. We were almost able to touch the clouds out there. It was really an interesting day. Not much wind in Juneau when we were there, even though it was summertime and it was cool. The wind wasn't very strong at all. I think we got one more picture to show you. We hiked up until we saw snow, And the ground there was pretty firm despite the rain, but I didn't want to risk going on the snow, because if you started sliding on one of those great big snowbanks right there, you'd slide to the bottom. There was nothing at the bottom but a bunch of rocks you could run into. So we got up as far as the snow line there, and then we turned around and headed back. But that was a great trip. And we've had so many trips that have just turned out to be well. We got one coming up here in July. I'll be leaving you for 10 days, and we'll be, my wife and I will be exploring the Canadian Rockies. We'll start out in Calgary. We'll fly from Chicago to Calgary, and then on through Banff, Lake Louise, Jasper. And we'll take the train down to Vancouver, and then across to Vancouver Island and the Boucher Gardens there. So really should be a fun trip. Looking forward to it. And what else do we have? I believe we have a couple more pictures for you from John Doherty, a frequent contributor. That is a beautiful rose, rugosa rose, just very pretty with the yellow interior there and the magenta flower all around it. The green leaves there looking good in the sunshine. And one more from John Scully, and he's got a picture of some turtles that were sunning themselves along the lakeshore there. Turtles do that. I really find, I never knew there were that many turtles around West Michigan until I got a kayak. And you go out, especially during the spring. And I remember one day, it was March 2012. I was at Gun Lake, and I went around the lake, and there were just tons of turtles. Every log had a whole slew of turtles. Some of them were huge, but they had poked themselves up. And I remember the water temperature that day was 64, pretty incredible. So, John, thank you so much for your picture. And hey, to everybody out there, stay cool. It's going to be another hot couple of days here. Stay hydrated. Make sure you got a cool place to be. And once again, thanks so much for staying with us here till the end. Have an awesome day.